Hey everyone, and welcome back to our DC Films podcast. This is episode 5. This week, since in honor of Comic-Con next week, this is going to be all discussion about our thoughts and expectations for Comic-Con this year, what we can expect from the DC panel and the Warner Brothers panel in general. So, for me, I'm lucky enough that first of all, I live in San Diego, and also this year I'm volunteering at Comic-Con, which means I get in for free, so I don't know if I might not necessarily be there for the panel, but I'll be there as things are going on, so and it's funny, for me, just to tell this little side story, I think I might have told Katie, or I can't remember, but like a couple years ago, it was the year, when Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad are both at Comic-Con and both those trailers dropped. I got my Comic-Con pass like the day before, so I had to work the next day at like 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, great. So I got up like super early, got to Comic-Con right when they opened, and then I was walking around, and it was getting closer and closer to the time where I had to, get to the trolley station so I can be at work on time. And so I was waiting around, and then the Batman vs. Superman panel had just gotten out, and they're heading towards like the DC booth within the convention floor. And I'm like, oh my god. And I like waited there for a good like 45 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, I can't wait any longer. I have to go. And seriously, within 5 minutes, the cast shows up and then the trailer drops.
That sucks.
Oh, not cool.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, No, and it's funny because like I get to work and my boss told me like, oh, why didn't you tell me sooner? You could have stayed a little longer. You could have come in late. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh, wow. It's even
Don't
worse.
tell me that.
Yeah, and of course that ends up being like my favorite trailer like of all time in terms of the DCEU.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like cause I remember because I watched that trailer like in a rush as I was getting ready to leave, and I'm like, oh my god, this is it. It was just so jaw-dropping, and I literally just sat there in silence watching the trailer, and I'm like, oh my god, this looks incredible.
That's pretty much my thought.
Alright, so, again, since we're talking about what to expect from this year's Comic-Con, we can kind of go around and, like, what do you guys think we're going to end up seeing this year at the panel?
I hope we will see Superman. This is all I need right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is, like, literally nothing official to make me get hype about Justice League regarding Superman. I have to watch all these great fan-made videos that are, like, covering up what was before in DCEU and preparing for Superman's return. And I want to see something official regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Maybe just a teaser.
Maybe.
Not the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like obviously, I feel like there's no doubt there's going to be a Justice League trailer. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'm curious about is again, like, are they going to show Superman? Or are they still going to hold off on that? Because that's been the big thing. I mean, obviously, like, us fans and us following the story, we all know he's going to be back. But I think for the general audience, I think a lot of them figure, oh, Superman's not actually dead, especially with the way they teased at the end of Batman vs. Superman. But for a lot of people, like, I think they see the trailers and are like, oh, where's Superman? Isn't he supposed to be in this? So I think, obviously, as a selfish Superman fan, I want to see him, but at the same time, we've had this discussion before. I think it'd be good to hold back on him for just a little longer. Maybe have one more trailer in like September or October and then reveal him. Or maybe even hold off until the movie.
Yeah.
But I would like that reveal in that moment to finally see Clark again, like within the theater.
Same. It'd be a nice surprise.
Yeah, I admit. That would move me the most. But I also am greedy, and even just seeing him on a popcorn bucket was like, ah!
I know. And like all like and all that theater merch has been coming out the last few days. I've been seeing like all like the promo stuff, and I'm like, and Superman's all there, and I'm like, WB, you're testing my patience.
You want me to go broke.
That works for me. I'm totally good with that, though. I'm glad he's there. And honestly, that Superman bucket's been making its way around Tumblr, and somebody pointed out, and it is kind of funny, that he's just standing there as his awesome Superman self, all straight and tall, and everybody else is like crouched in a fighting stance,
around him.
And they're all gathered around him, so it really does look like they're like, okay,
we ain't losing you again
already, and that ain't happening again, So come on, man, bring it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cute, because that's pretty much how I feel. So yeah, I'd be in that circle. So.
Now, one thing also, because I don't know if you guys have seen this, but like the there have been like the pictures online of the Justice League like action figures and stuff, and like we got our first look at what Steppenwolf could potentially look like, at least in action figure form.
Yeah.
So do you guys think we'll end up seeing Steppenwolf in the next trailer?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't see any reason for them not to show him, since he's officially was announced to be a villain of the movie, so he is not that big of a surprise to show off in the trailer.
Yeah, sure.
Like it was done with Doomsday in one of the trailers for Batman v Superman, which was a very bad idea on their side.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, the Doomsday reveal for me in that trailer didn't necessarily bug me, because of course most of us knew that Batman and Superman were going to team up with Wonder Woman at the end. We all kind of figured that, but like for a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, well, that spoiled the movie, so now I know exactly how the movie is going to end." I'm like, "Well, no, it's still that was like a 2-minute trailer, so there's still a lot more to the story." But I mean, I can understand why, because like Doomsday, up until then, there was no official confirmation that he was even in the movie. So I can kind of get that, but yeah, you're right. At least with Steppenwolf, like they've already teased him in Batman vs Superman. He's already announced as the villain. Mm-hmm. So if they were,
true, it's not a mystery.
Yeah. But the one thing that I did kind of notice too is that in looking at the action figure, and again, like just because the action figure looks a certain way doesn't mean that's necessarily how he looks in the movie. Because I've seen several action figures where the figures look nothing like the characters do in the movie.
Mm.
But you know, in Steppenwolf's figure that was released online, if you look at it, it has more of a humanoid face than what we saw in like the liquid Geo form of him that we saw in Batman vs Superman.
Okay.
So yeah, I think like, to me, like I'd rather have a more humanoid version than just a straight up alien look to him, because I think that gives him a little more like, again, it feels a little more real and not this like outlandish kind of thing, because it makes him a little more terrifying when you see those like human qualities within him, you know?
Yeah. No, I don't see any reason why they should hold back. You know, I'm totally good with them giving us a Steppenwolf reveal. As for the Doomsday thing, I don't know. Maybe this is just me. You know, like I have a weird mindset, and sometimes I don't go along with the general consensus. But it was like, even when they announced Batman v Superman, I was like, oh, okay, so they're gonna fight. And even in the back of my brain, it's like, okay, but sooner or later, something's going to have to turn, and Batman's going to have to figure out that Superman's, you know, on the right side, and that they're both on the same side, and then they're going to have to fight together against something else. What's that's going to be, Lex? What are they going to do? Like, just take turns punching him? You know, like, this, you know what I mean? It doesn't, I knew there had to be something else larger than that. And so when the trailer dropped and Doomsday was there, I was like, oh yeah, Doomsday, I've heard of him. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it went together with what everybody was saying about Zod's body still being in use, so to speak. You know, there were rumors about that floating around, and it was like, okay. And I agree, there are some times when you don't want to drop too much on a film, and yet other times it's like a crapshoot. It really is, because sometimes you can reveal too much, and it's true, you can reveal too much, and I've watched trailers where I'm like, well, that's just great, now I know the whole plot line, and I just don't know how, you know, the ultimate ending, you know, or I can guess at it. But at the same time, other times, if you drive the marketing one way, and you're trying really hard to do the fake out, and everybody buys that, then when they get in there and find out that it's different, they get really angry, and they feel like they were like sold something else. They feel like they were sold, you know, okay, this is going to be the villain. Oh, never mind, it's not the villain. Ha, 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 you know, and then they get cranky. And so it really, I feel like it's a difficult thing to navigate. And I'm glad I don't do publicity work, because I don't think I would handle it well. Like, the stress of trying to figure out which move is
especially
the right move
for
in this particular
movies,
circumstance. It would drive me crazy. So it's weird, because, it can be good or bad, depending on, I don't know, the alignment of the stars and the particular mood of the public. I don't know. So it's just, there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up, because now I'm like flashing back to when Iron Man 3 was coming out and all those trailers.
Okay, I was thinking that too, but I didn't want to say it out loud.
No, yeah, and it's funny, and again,
Marvel, but that was exactly it.
They teased us the whole.
Cool. Wait, what? He's not? What? No, I'm confused. Hey, what's going on? You know,
the same way.
Yeah. it felt like a bait and switch.
It really did, and especially because when you look at the trailers, like Ben Kingsley looked like he was gonna be an awesome villain, and I'm like, finally, like another awesome villain besides Loki.
That twist,
and then you're like, what? Like what? What? And that's why for me, like, I don't hate Iron Man 3. I enjoy it as a Shane Black movie, but I don't think it's that good of an Iron Man / superhero movie. You know, like it's a fine like action movie.
That it took the turn it did. I was like, oh, of course the pretty boy's going to be the bad guy. You know, it was like, I'm totally good with Ben Kingsley being a really awesome Mandarin.
He's a great actor too. I thought he would. I think honestly, I think that was such a waste of his talent too for him to be so like.
Yeah, well, he's good at comedy, and people forget that. So
I totally get that too.
He was able to show off his comic chops, but it was really. It was kind of sad because he looked really, I don't want to say menacing, but he had a really intense vibe about him in the trailer.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, cool. He's going to be so neat. And then we get in there and I'm like, oh, never.
What is this?
This happened. Yeah, it did. It took me a minute to kind of reset my expectations, you know. And I talk about expectations will bite you in the butt every time. And I'm like, man, I thought I was safe getting there with this one, you know. Never mind.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, and then even also, like, obviously it wasn't to this much of an extent, but if you look at all the trailers leading up to Suicide Squad, up until then, you didn't necessarily know that Enchantress was going to be the villain. You just thought, oh, she's going to be part of the squad, but even for me, like, me being obviously the hardcore DCEU fan that I am, and I was, like, analyzing those trailers, before the movie came out, I'm like, wait a minute, like, we haven't officially seen Enchantress standing with the squad in any of those group shots. And then, like,
and I remember wondering that too as we were going into it, but and so it didn't feel like a horrible bait and switch because it already seemed to be kind of on.
Yeah,
but you're
right,
like they did not announce it and say, okay.
I also didn't see her in a lot of merchandise either. So.
Yeah, she didn't have a whole lot of it. Like even like me, like the Funko Pop collect that I am, like her pop figure didn't even come out until like a month before, and that came in like a special like DC Funko box, you know. So
yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, so they're really holding off on her because I guess they're trying to like not make it obvious that she's the villain, but like I don't know. But even then, like I don't think it was that big of a deal when it turns out she was the villain. I think a lot of people just expected Joker to be the villain. So I think for a lot of people who didn't like the movie, that's one of their problems. Like, oh, I thought Joker was going to be the villain, and then he was in it for like 5 minutes or whatever.
You know, his time was reduced, and I'll admit that. But at the same time, I don't think I ever went in expecting that to be... I mean, you know, you see trash rings in the sky and giant lights and stuff like that, and even in the trailers, and you don't go, oh yeah, Joker's totally responsible for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's obvious there's something really big going on, you know, and so, yeah, I don't know. You know, but again, I agree. I tend to analyze everything. I love trailers because then I could just sit there and go frame by frame and start to put things together. I was a big Harry Potter fan back in the day, you know, still am. But, you know, every one that dropped, I'm like analyzing that thing. I had it figured out before we got there.
Yes.
It's just, that's just kind of how I am. So, what was that? Sorry.
I said, especially if you read the books. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to work this in the trailers and stuff.
Well, you know, part of it was like, we're going totally off track here, but like the Order of the Phoenix movie, when it came out, like everything that got put together and they did a little behind the scenes featurette and something, I'm like, wait a minute. Why is everybody in there and she's at the front? Oh my gosh, they're all going to get busted. They're all going to have to do Black Quill with her at the front of the room. And then we got there and I was like, oh man, I called that. And then like the Deathly Hallows 2 trailer, when the brief clip of the giant that they showed, we were all analyzing that and they're like, what is he holding? What is he holding? And I was like, holy crap, it's a broken Quidditch hoop. And they're like, I mean, like one of them was severely offended by even the suggestion that they would desecrate the Quidditch field. You know, she was like, no, that can't be. I'm like, look at it, it's gold, man. The top is broken off. It's a gold Quidditch hoop. And she's like, oh, that's just too much. So, yeah, I have a long history of this kind of behavior, so I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. Which brings me back to when the Justice League trailer drops at Comic-Con. We're going to analyze that thing.
Oh, God, I know. Yeah, and it sucks because, I mean, like, you can go ahead, Artyom.
You see, the major problem with Doomsday Reveal was that they pretty much showed the entire thing in this trailer. They showed Lex Luthor using Zod's body and creating a Doomsday. I think what would be a better way is to cut the trailer after Lex Luthor says, if the man can kill the god, the devil will do it, and then don't show the devil he was talking about. So that way there could have been an intrigue, like will it be a Doomsday, or maybe it could be Bizarro even, and that would be a much better way to kind of reveal that there will be another villain besides him, but at the same time don't reveal who it will be exactly.
Okay, that I could totally get on board with, and I agree with you, because even among comic fans, it would create some mystery, because, it's like with the books, when you've read them already, stuff like that, sometimes you can pick out a lot of the stuff coming in earlier than the general public who's not as informed. So, okay, I agree with you there. That would have been a really cool move.
Yeah, it's funny, like, for me, even before that trailer, because there was, like, a point, like, last year, the year before, where, like, a fake version of the Batman vs. Superman script had leaked online, and obviously it wasn't the actual script. Like, some fan did a fairly good job of creating what could have been, a cool Batman vs. Superman movie.
Oh, you're not talking about that script, are you?
I think, yeah.
Tell that to Zod's broken neck. You're not.
Oh, no. That was Chris Stuckman's. Yeah. God. Oh.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just flashing back to that awful mess. No, so it was like it was like a fan made script that, like, they kept saying, oh, it was leaked, it was the official script, but then, like, there was like a bunch of misspelling, like they spelled Lois as Lewis, and it was just yeah, so it was very obviously fake. But, like, I read it out of curiosity one night, and it was a pretty fun read if you're looking at it as just like a fan made, like almost like a fan fiction kind of thing,
Yeah.
But up until then, like, you weren't 100% sure, because there were elements in that script because it was right around when the Comic-Con trailer was released. You can see bits and pieces of what could have been from that script. You're like, okay, maybe this has some like there's something real about the script.
Yeah.
And because you're analyzing, because in the fake script there was Nightwing, and then I think there was even Oracle or Batgirl in it, and then I think Holly Hunter's character was actually like the female president, and there's all these things that, like, before you see the movie, you're like, okay, like, certain things could, like, kind of make sense, especially when they're teasing like the dead Robin suit and all that kind of stuff. And then of course you go and see the movie, and that's obviously not the case. But for me, after reading that script, and in that script, Doomsday was in it, so I'm like, okay, like, again, like that, kind of like with you, like, what would Superman and Batman have to team up with Wonder Woman to fight,
Yeah.
So, like, obviously it can't be Lex Luthor in, like, a battle armor, because I feel like it'd be very easy just for even just Superman to be like, boop, done. Or even, like, Wonder Woman to be like, boop.
Oh, yeah, totally.
He'd still take him to jail without breaking it, but you're right. I feel like this isn't going to take long.
Yeah, so for me, like, that Doomsday reveal, I mean, I get why it upset certain people and why people say, like, oh, it ruined certain things, but for me, like, I kind of saw it coming, so I'm like, okay, like, it's, obviously it wasn't my favorite trailer of all of those trailers, but I didn't hate it like some people did, or if I find so many problems with it, like, I'm like, okay, I mean, for me, like, at the time, I'm like, cool, we see an awesome shot of the Trinity, and that's kind of what I was more or less looking forward to, like, because we all knew, like, obviously Batman and Superman are going to make up, so, like, I didn't really care about, like, that being spoiled, because I knew it was coming. So for me, like, the best part of that trailer was seeing Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman standing there, because that's something as a fan that I've been waiting for years. So for me, that trailer wasn't as problematic because it showed me something that I've been waiting for so long. So I'd say for me, like, I wasn't necessarily as bothered by the spoiler, if you want to call it that. But for this year, but I think since then, I think WB did take that trailer and we're like, okay, well, let's kind of reevaluate how we're marketing these movies. And kind of since then, if you look at Wonder Woman and Suicide Squad, again, they didn't really tease a villain at all in those trailers, or except for the actual villain. Like, if you look at all the Wonder Woman trailers, there might have been, like, a quick shot of Ares, but they never officially said Ares in any of those trailers, and they never said Ares was the villain. So you kind of figured it was going to be Danny Houston's character.
In the last couple weeks of promotion before that film dropped, that I started to realize that Ares was actually a big deal in the film, because before that it just seemed like it was, Wonder Woman against World War I, which is fine, but it was like, okay, and then it was when WB started releasing the small snippets of scenes, which most of them I didn't watch, but I totally admit to getting spoiled by a gif of one.
Yeah,
and she was ranting about, it was the scene where they're standing on the staircase right before he puts the lasso on himself and says he's taking her to the front. She is ranting about Ares and how he's not going to stop and people are going to die and this, that, and the other, stuff like that. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, this is her entire objective. But you're right, none of that was in the trailers. And they'll show you, flames and battle this and there. Even the big explosion on top of the watchtower, I honestly thought was like a bad guy weapon. They did a really good job. I didn't really know going into it that it was going to be such a big deal. He was going to be the primary antagonist in this. So yeah, it was good. Yeah, and I agree. I think that they have taken notes from that and are paying attention. And I'm not saying that they won't show a Steppenwolf, but I think they'll be thinking really carefully about what exactly they want to tip us off to and what they want to keep as a surprise.
Especially at Comic-Con, too, because Comic-Con is usually, like in terms of, like, comic book movie trailers, they tend to be the most watched trailers of all those movies. So, really and you have to be very careful with what they do, because, again, they don't want to be too spoilery or just, because if a Comic-Con audience doesn't like it, you're going to get so much hate and stuff online.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's where it's like...
Okay.
Yeah,
this makes good sense. I will also say, though, one thing they did a really exceptional job keeping a lid on was, as they should, like this should never be in a trailer, but was the fact that Superman died. Like, people figure out Doomsday and they go, ooh, okay, and the comic fans go, all right, we know who was responsible for Superman dying in the comics. So that might have brought him into a higher phrase, which might have been more of the spoiler that people are talking about. But at the same time, like, not even a whisper of that. I didn't know until I sat down in the movie, and then it was like, holy crap, I can't believe you just did that. Totally makes sense, I get it, but I can't believe you just did that. So they did a good job of not advertising that particular and getting that one spoiled. Although I do admit that plenty of comic fans probably went, crap, the minute they saw Doomsday. So yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and that was a nice thing too. Like you're right. Like that wasn't really other than showing Doomsday, which for a lot of fans, like showing Doomsday means there's gonna be some sort of adaptation of the death of Superman's storyline, and of course there was. But for me, it didn't hit me that they were gonna do it until the moment Clark says, "I love you." That was that was the moment in the movie for me.
All then.
And you're like that's when you knew. And I think that's good, and that's definitely and that's good on their part because. Again, you didn't know that was coming. Other than Doomsday just being there, you didn't know what the kind of like emotional stakes were there, and you didn't know that they were ultimately going to kill him up. Even though a lot of fans had the obvious assumption that they would have because Doomsday's there, but I think that was good on their part that they didn't spoil that or tease that really in any way.
Yes, and I think that's good because still, even though comics have one way, the films have proved over and over again that sometimes they just don't want to follow that exact line or they want to switch it up or change it, and very, very often, that doesn't happen. Like, what I mean? It's not a foregone conclusion just because it happened in the comic books. But I can totally see how a lot of people went, oh no, that's Doomsday. I could see the writing on the wall here, But okay, I have a question since I haven't actually read those comics, The Death of Superman. I glimpsed a conversation on Tumblr like eons ago where somebody mentioned it and it made me perk up and go, that's interesting. So am I correct in assuming that in the comic book when Superman died he basically just fought Doomsday and was pummeled to death, like basically weakened to the point to where he just died? Is that the case? How did he die there?
Yeah, but pretty much that.
They killed each other simultaneously.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically from what I can recall, I think he flew... I could be wrong, or maybe I'm just thinking of the animated movie. But I think there's a point where, because it's been so long since I've taken a look at that story, that I think he flew him up into space and used his might to crash Doomsday back down into the Earth. And by that point, he was so weakened from the battle that it just drained any life force that he had left within him. So in the moment that Doomsday died, Superman died as well, but in Lois's arms.
Okay.
Which made it even more. Yeah.
In comic books, they were punching each other almost the entire issue, and during the last pages they hit each other simultaneously with all their power they have left and killed each other at the same time.
Okay. That's slightly better than what was posited in the Tumblr post, where they mentioned it was basically just he was beaten to death, But I do appreciate that they were having a discussion and each decided that the Batman v Superman ending was really meaningful, especially for the arc the DCEU was trying to set up.
Yeah.
In terms of and this is what always got me the most too. They kill each other at the same time, of course, but at the same time, it was Superman's choice entirely. Like even when he first got stabbed, he reached to pull it out, and wasn't really thinking beyond that until he started to realize what needed to happen in order for this threat to be eliminated. And so I think they tilted it just a little bit and put self-sacrifice in more of a spotlight with that particular ending, and especially considering what what Batman v Superman was exploring, and Man of Steel before it, and what they're trying to set up with the DCEU. It was a really, really well done, I thought, ending for him there. And that act of sacrifice is what I think really helped to tip the scales for Bruce in terms of, okay, so, I did fail him when he was alive. I'm not going to fail him now, and now I really need to do this. Because I can't guarantee before that, even after he stopped trying to kill him, and went to save his mother and stuff like that, that he would have said, okay, let's go find all those other guys and put them together, So
yeah, it wouldn't have been as meaningful if because again, Clark's death was the catalyst for Bruce to kind of look at himself and also just to be like, this guy I was trying to kill, I was so wrong about, and he sacrificed himself for the world. I have to do my best to honor his memery.
Yeah, right. And that's what I felt too, is that, it really left an impact. And also I like, I'm sure there's still detractors in the world, because there's always going to be a divided public. But it really felt like that also went a long way, and a lot of people going, okay, so maybe we misjudged that guy now that it's too late and he's dead and he sacrificed himself for us. But, maybe I misjudged him, so, yeah. So that's a good example.
It's like, when Bruce said, while fighting with Superman, that you're not brave, men are brave. And this Superman sacrifice pretty much reflects those words, and Superman shows that he's actually also brave, just like a man can be. And I think what was beautiful about that ending, when Superman went to kill Doomsday, knowing pretty well that he will die as well, is that I think until that moment, he pretty much, I think he felt himself invulnerable most of the time, and I doubt he thought that he will face another threat as dangerous as Zod again. And once this Doomsday, who is much more powerful than Zod, appears, Superman still fights him, even though I think maybe he was scared, but he still fought this. No, he was scared. You can pretty much see it. I
was just about to say that. No, when he picks up the spear, it starts flying, and it's already affecting him as he's trying to fly. Yeah, he's scared. So you're right. Keep going.
He was already scared when he first saw Doomsday. When Lex revealed Doomsday to Superman, you can pretty much see on his face that, oh my God, what the hell is that?
Yes.
And so through this fearless act of sacrifice, this is why it impacts Bruce, I think, mostly, is that Superman proves Bruce wrong on those words that he's not brave, where he actually is brave.
Yep, I completely agree. And it goes back to the common quote. I forget who actually said it, so I'm not going to guess because I'll be wrong. But, the common quote that circles around courage and bravery that talks about is not the absence of courage, it is acting in spite of it. And that is exactly that. Superman doesn't always have to be, in fear, because you're right. It's not very often he runs into somebody or something that is on equal terms with him. But at the same time, when he does experience it, it doesn't stop him from doing what he feels is the right thing to do. And that is bravery. That is courage. And you're right, that would most definitely speak to Bruce.
Also, I wanted to ask you a question. I saw that some people were complaining that why Wonder Woman didn't take Doomsday all by herself, since she was a god.
That bothers me so much.
That angered me so greatly when that argument first started circulating. That is like one of the first times I have ever come out as a rude and antagonistic person on Tumblr. I try really hard to keep a positive atmosphere and to show kindness, to everybody around.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like, excuse you? And I don't appreciate that tacky kind of assumption. Because, first of all, many of them are erroneously assuming that she can fly, which even before her film, it is proven she doesn't actually fly. She glides, she can leap high, she's got a way different relationship with, gravity than we do, but she does not fly like he does. And then on top of that, too, I mean, it's like, okay, so you're whining that this is not the Superman that you wanted or expected. This isn't the hero with a smile on his face and this, that, and the other. And yet you're still insinuating that the man who said this creature is from another world, my world, would then turn to the person next to him that he doesn't know and go, okay, could you go ahead and take responsibility for this and you might die. Okay, go ahead. When would he ever do that? I mean, it is so insulting, I think, to any version of Superman anywhere out there. I don't care what kind you're talking about, except for maybe like the actual despotic dictator in New 52. That I'm like, no version of him would ever do that, ever. It's always going to be in his mind. This is something from his planet. His own, birth planet, threatening his adopted world. He's never going to turn around and hand the responsibility and possible death that comes from dealing with this to somebody else. Never in a million years. And shame on any of you idiots. I'm sorry, but it's coming out again. I apologize, Clark, because I should be better than this. But, shame on any of you idiots who actually think that that's what should have happened. In the end, you just didn't want Superman to die. Go ahead and admit that you like him and that he speaks to you. That's okay. Go ahead and admit that and admit you just didn't want him to die, okay? But don't be, putting all that kind of ridiculous thought out there. That's the dumbest thing I have ever heard, and it still gets me angry. Oh, look at me, I'm angry. Okay, I'm done now.
No, and what you said is completely true. And when I saw that, again, like, it's exactly what you said. It's why would Superman willingly just let a stranger he doesn't even know he just shows up. He has no idea what her power set is and what she's capable of doing. Why would he throw that responsibility on her? Yeah, she can hold her own in the fight, but why would he be like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit this one out. Can you go ahead and take care of this for me while I like?
That's the most un-Superman thing
ever. Like, so out of character. And why? Obviously, for anyone who
would go, that's not the Superman I want. That's not the Superman I expected. That's not the Superman I think about. You know what I mean? That's not the Superman I look up to. Right there would be when we'd think that. And so of course he would never do that.
Yeah, and he doesn't, and that's and anyone who thinks that doesn't know Superman and they don't get who he is.
The character.
They don't, and so Superman would never. Again, unless it was like the Injustice version or like some other like evil version, like no true to character version of Superman would do that.
And then my favorite was like it shows really, really clearly in the film that it took all three of them to actually bring him down.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't just Superman stabbing him.
Actually, watching the film. Like, it's not like Batman had a whole lot he could do in that fight. We all...
He had one shot. He had one shot, and he saved it for that.
And he held on to it until just the right moment, because after Wonder Woman lassoed him, he was getting ready to do another energy burst. That totally would have thrown her off. She definitely would have lost her grip on the lasso. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Superman's trying to come in, it would have blown him back. Batman would probably have been screwed if he couldn't have found himself some cover real fast. So, like, right there is the moment where he is the most useful because he can diffuse that energy burst before it gets away. And so it took her to lasso him, Batman to diffuse the energy burst, and Superman to come in for the kill. There's no way around this. There's no way one of them could have done it. That was the entire point of that scene.
It took them coming together.
It's like you watched that and you didn't get that? Come on, man. I know you guys are smart.
It's not that hard to understand.
It was made clear that Doomsday can be killed only by kryptonite, pretty much. And honestly, I think that this version of Doomsday was much more powerful than an actual Ares as a god. He was on totally different power level, and I don't know if you know Doomsday's origin from comic books, but he was designed that way that so if you kill him one way, when he comes back, he can be killed exactly the same way again. He gets invulnerable to certain type of deaths.
Oh, holy crap!
After every return. So, and when Wonder Woman cut his hand, you saw that he regenerated.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I was just thinking that when you said that, I was like, oh,
Yeah, me too.
that's where that came from. That makes sense, though. But you're right. Every time they attacked him, he just got bigger and stronger and way more ugly and a lot more, horny's not the right word, but you know what I mean. A lot more spikes and projectiles and weapons, you know. So, you can get horny.
Oy. No, but
You're
yeah,
totally right. You are totally right.
No,
And
yeah.
So, if they keep going much longer, they're just going to go ahead and make him
Yeah,
vulnerable.
and I think the whole point of
even
that is
if
that you
Wonder
said
Woman cut his head, I think he might still come back from that, but I'm not sure, obviously, but I think it would be just difficult for her to reach for his head in order to
Agreed.
cut.
She could leap, I don't doubt that she has the leaping strength and the strength, possibly, with the kryptonite spear to actually get it in there. But I don't guarantee she would be caught in the exact same situation. Hello, look at this really closely here. That guy, it always amazes me every time I watch that film. I love that film. He moves so fast. He's big. He's like this big lumbering thing, and you go, oh, well, they can totally take him on. They're faster and they can move around stuff. But the way they depict him fighting, that dude is fast. Like, Superman blocks his fist, pushes it out of the way, and comes in for a hit and is immediately caught in his hand. It's like that guy moves fast. So he's not an easy target. He's not just this giant bullseye, and there's no way, I don't think, that Diana could have leaped up there, even if had Superman been that kind of chumpy piece of crap, which he would never do, then I don't guarantee she wouldn't have found herself in the exact same position, stabbed, and trying to figure out how to get the spear in farther, it just amazes me that people don't want to take in all the facts. It just, in the end, I think that our culture has bred some kind of well, that's great and all, but this would have been way better, and kind of mentality. I see it so often where they're like, well, I don't want that.
well, it's the whole mentality of everyone's a critic. Everyone's a critic.
And other people go, yeah, you're right, that'd be so much better, But much and very often, and just like with the tell it to Zod's neck thing, they're ignoring the point of the story that person is trying to portray. They're ignoring the arc that they've created. They're ignoring the entire, theme of the work just so they can put in something that they think they like better. And it's like, that's cool that you like it, but man, go off and make something really cool. Or, that is what fan fiction is for. I write fan fiction. There's no shame in it. In the end, it's like, if you want to explore a different avenue, do it. But please don't spend all your time ignoring the hard work and effort and, world building and arc and theme and motif and everything that has been brought together in one work, to bring, I don't know. They've worked really hard. They've created the story they wanted to tell. So often when you're watching something, you need to spend time going, okay, why did they make that choice there? Why did they have it like this? Why did they have Superman die during that? When they could have easily just written him as coming out alive, and then maybe you would spend some time going, okay, so the world didn't exactly appreciate him all the way until he was gone. He utterly proved his willingness and devotion to protecting this planet up to and including his life. Okay, he left behind a lasting example that people now want to live up to and be worthy of and be deserving of that sacrifice, as shown in the whole, Metropolis monument place and everything, where they're all gathered with the candles. If you seek his monument, look around you. All of these things came about from that death and from his willingness to go through with that death. these are the things that you need to spend time and go, okay. And if you don't like it, then you can go, well, I still don't agree with that choice. But can you see what they were trying to portray in this story? You don't have to love it. You do have to understand. And that takes effort instead of just going, well, I don't like that. I think it'd be better like this. That's cool. Write your own. Even just a small story, that's cool. That's totally cool. The entire world is fan fiction now, basically. Like everything's been done. Anything you do has already been done somewhere else. You're just doing your own version of it. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't spend your time bashing and pretending like your version is superior to the one that they worked on for 3 years. I mean, please don't do that. It's embarrassing. It's just, this is why how it should have ended. People, like, I've only seen a couple of their videos, and I admit, I laughed at the Captain America Winter Soldier one. I did, like, I'm not saying that they're not funny. It's just that people seem to start taking them really seriously.
Yeah.
And watching the Man of Steel one irked me just as badly, because I'm like, oh, okay, so you're telling me, even though, the Zod who's appeared and kind of put out his message there and stuff like that, you're going to go talk to your dad and on his word just attack and totally obliterate a ship full of, people from your own planet, which is now gone, who up to this point haven't actually done anything or done any harm to the planet. Yeah, because that's so Superman too. And again, this is where you missed the point. He would never do that. It's like their version was that he would just go talk to his dad and he'd be like, you're right, they're evil, kill them all. And he'd be like, okay, and go get his little ship that he came to Earth in, come up, chuck it at the ship and just blow them all up and everything's cool. They go back to the Phantom Zone and ta-da, movie ends a lot earlier, nobody else dies. Well, that's great. But I don't see Superman ever doing that. If you have enough of a problem with him snapping Zod's neck at the end to save a family, I don't see how you can sit in the theater and be like, oh yeah, totally, take them all out, even though they haven't proven themselves a threat. Go on, do it. I can't see you thinking that that's a Superman thing. It's not. It never will be. It might be funny to come up with other options about why that should have happened, but in the end, it is not superior. I feel like I'm babbling. Okay, I'll stop.
Oh, no.
But it's all true.
No, you're not babbling. No, it's fine. Like, and you bring up so many fair points, too.
A Superman thing to do, because first of all, he will try to negotiate with his opponent if he has a conscience. Like, he wouldn't negotiate with something like Doomsday, but with his fellow Kryptonians who appeared to be alive. So I think he kind of got hope that he's not alone anymore. Maybe these guys might be good, and we can come to terms to create a peace between Kryptonians and Earth. And this whole thing with the priest in the church about making a leap of faith, Superman is all about that. He always tries to believe that there is always good in everyone. And first of all, he will try to seek for this good in his enemy, and if there is no other options like at all to do, he might come to some harsh decisions like breaking Zod's neck. Mm-hmm. You can see from his emotional burst that it was a tough decision for him.
Yes.
But
it's never an easy thing.
Talk about this killing of Zod like he done it with pleasure, like it did not affect him emotionally at all, and like calling him murderer of steel or something like that. Like, why he did not enjoy what he had to do.
Yep.
For God's sake.
In the end, people are complaining about the fact that the story was crafted. Put him in that situation. They're complaining about the fact that the story doesn't line up with what they think it should be, which apparently is what I remember as Saturday cartoons, where nobody dies and the script just kind of goes so beautifully, where it just kind of hands you an easy ending, and that has never been the point of the DCEU. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people have the biggest problem with, is that why are you even putting Superman in that situation where he has to choose? Well, because as artists, this happens a lot. We're very, very interested in what would happen if. You know,
Yes.
and it's like, okay, so we've got this good and pure and awesome hero who everybody thinks is so righteous that he's just a boring blue Boy Scout. What would happen if we put him in this situation? What decision would he make? And it
how
really
would
should
that
tell us something about his character. And we should walk out going, okay, I don't like the whole killing thing, but wow, what an interesting concept. You know, he sided with his adoptive planet, his adoptive family, over his own blood, you know, because it was the right thing to do. And even though they haven't treated him perfectly, he identifies himself as a human. You know, this should not be that hard. But you're right. People, I think that many times they walk out and they're upset and angry and they're not exactly sure why. So they start, you know, finding the reasons. You know, you're right, Murderverse and all that silliness and stuff like that are too dark and gritty, you know. But they're not actually sitting down going, okay, I have problems with the fact that they wrote the story this way. I don't like that they forced him into that choice, you know. But I firmly believe, you know, being a hero just because it's the right thing to do is a great thing. But it's only going to last so long, because sooner or later you're going to run into some really nasty things, and you're going to start to wonder if this is worth it. And so, yeah, they're proving to us that he thinks it's worth it. That's the Superman I can get behind.
Yeah.
DCEU pretty much showed that Superman can always have like this perfectly constructed situation that will give him all the options, not non-lethal options, in order to resolve certain situations.
Agreed.
And also about the sacrifice, I just thought about that in Batman v Superman. I think Superman pretty much sacrificed himself twice because I believe he didn't know that he would survive an atomic bomb when he was flying with Doomsday in outer space.
Completely agree.
That's true, yeah.
I completely agree.
He was ready to die already at that moment.
Yes, and again, it was to ensure that Doomsday went too. You know, he sat there and he held him in place and he took it because it was worth it to him. You're right. If he didn't make it, that's cool. Then Doomsday doesn't either. And so, yeah, I completely agree. And yes.
Also, you can see that Superman learned his lessons. Like, the very first thing he tries to do is to get Doomsday from Earth. He doesn't fight him and destroys all these buildings that were around him. First thing he does is tries to take the fight out of the city.
Yeah.
Yep.
With everything he's got.
Yep. And I love that, because that was one of the major whiny moments about Man of Steel is, he did so much damage and they couldn't do it. You know, well, okay, A, he did try and it didn't work. And B, you know, he's been doing this for like one day. And again, see, people don't like that because, well, they're a superhero. Superhero or not, for one day, by gum, they should be perfect and make all the right choices.
Yeah.
But
they forget he's new to the scene.
Yeah, he was brand new, man. I guarantee I'd have made more
Batman.
mistakes than that, you know?
Yeah.
I'm very sorry, but many of you would have died because I'd have been like, wait, I'll do this. Oh, that was a bad choice. Okay. Let's not do that again. And so, yeah, that's just par for the course. That's just normal, you know, when it comes to a learning curve on any person. But we don't want to seem to look at our heroes and view them as people. We want to view them as invulnerable, always makes the right choice.
Perfect.
And the story makes it possible, you know, and so, yeah, I don't know, is that because we're looking for somebody to worship, or we're putting unfair demands on them, you know, because we can't meet that, or I don't know why we do that, but we do, and we do it a lot, so.
Yeah.
And that's
And
also
most importantly, he saved Lex Luthor's life. After everything this person did,
Exactly.
Superman found strength inside of himself in order to forgive this kind of person.
Exactly.
After
that's
every-
what
a long
makes
ways,
him
'cause
a hero.
I don't
after everything
guarantee
he
I'd made that choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this is kind of example he's trying to show us that we can forgive, and this is like our this is our most good thing we might do is forgive and move on.
Yes, and it is not an easy thing at
No.
all.
Yes.
It is a very difficult process, It can
takes a
sometimes
lot
take
of strength.
Yes, it takes a lot of strength. It's way easier just to sink into anger, and
Yeah.
it's so much easier, and our society seems to have lost contact with that idea of forgiveness because they feel like somehow they're letting the other person off easy. I mean, had Superman saved Lex right then, it's not like he would have turned around, shaken his hand, and been, "It's okay, you tried to kill my mom, just go on your merry way." No, he still would have gone to prison. He still would have been completely and totally accountable for all the law breaking and murder and serious things that he did, but he didn't deserve to die in that moment. And that takes a lot of strength, I agree, because somebody threatens my mom with burning her to death because she's my mom. Yeah, I don't totally guarantee that I would make that choice, in the spur of the moment. I might have let my anger get in the way. I admit it, and it does take a lot of strength. It takes a lot of strength. And it doesn't mean that he's just letting him get off scot-free and just walking away from it. It does mean that he's decided that, he should not die because of this. Yeah. So.
Besides, forgiveness opens an option for redemption for this person who gave.
This is true.
And
true.
I hope we will see something of that in Justice League, maybe like it will be revealed that Lex was affected maybe somehow by Darkseid, but now maybe he will also get inspired by Superman and also will try to help humanity by joining the forces with Justice League, because there were some stories where Lex Luthor was helping Justice League from cosmic threats, and I hope they will play this out.
Okay, I was going to ask, has that ever happened? How interesting.
Well, actually, currently...
As a basic layperson, I'm always like, Lex is the bad guy, so that's a really interesting thought.
Well, actually, currently in DC...
They will show that people can be, completely evil. They can be redeemed and... God, how to say this properly? Like with Darth Vader, you thought he was like this ultimate villain till the very last moment where he made the right decision and he saved his son. And I hope we will see something like that from Lex's side. I might have been evil all this time, but I'm also able to do good for humanity, for everyone.
Yeah, well, it's funny because as of right now in DC Rebirth, Lex Luthor isn't inherently a bad guy. In fact, because in DC Rebirth, the New 52 Superman died, and Lex Luthor kind of took up he thought it was a good idea to take up the mantle of Superman and created his own kind of like Superman armor that's powered by a mother box, I believe.
I think I've seen a couple panels of this. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. and of course, there's also the pre-New 52 Superman that's also around right now, and he's in the Justice League now, and he's the Superman of the world again. But as of right now, Lex Luthor hasn't, as far as I know, because I haven't read all the New 52, but as of right now, in terms of Rebirth, he hasn't done anything inherently bad. Obviously, there's something you don't trust about the guy, but
well, yeah, he's Lex Luthor, and we're always
exactly.
I don't know if I trust that guy.
But they've made him for a little brief time in New 52, he was a member of the Justice League. He did help against one of the major threats in the DC Comics universe a couple of years ago. So if they were to go that direction with Lex, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. But I think right now, because they're still establishing who Lex Luthor is, and by the end of Batman vs Superman, they're kind of making him kind of become Lex Luthor, kind of much so with what they're doing with Superman's arc and him starting to become the Superman that we kind of come to know and love. Even though it's taken a little time for the world to kind of see him as that Superman. I think they're kind of doing the same thing with Lex, is that Lex is kind of starting to become the Lex Luthor that we're familiar with in the comics, by shaving his head and ultimately and doing all these things. So I think for Lex, it's more of a villain's journey, not so much of a hero's journey. So I think ultimately, it's very possible, but I don't think we're going to end up seeing Lex be a hero, especially because of his stance on Superman in the DCEU. I don't think
this could be interesting.
And even though, obviously Clark was there to save him, I don't think Clark would be so forgiving, or even the League would be so forgiving and just allowing this guy who tried to kill Superman and doing all these things be like, oh yeah, just come join us now, even though you're trying to save humanity. Yeah, come on and join us. You tried to kill Superman, but it's okay. Like, I don't
it
think...
would again be one of those things where it's like, even if he was for real, you know, how hard would it be? I think it would be almost impossible to actually put your guard down and be able to trust him again without thinking in the back of your mind, this has got to be a trick, you know? This has got to be something that he's doing just to get around, you know, and do something bad, you know? And so, yeah, that would be a really, really difficult place to come back from.
For me, watching, especially because in the comics, again, they haven't inherently established Lex as evil, whereas in the DCEU, they have. So that's why it's easier for them to make him a more heroic kind of figure in the DC comics, because in this newer interpretation, he's not inherently evil, where I think in the DCU it's problematic because we start out with him being evil, and it's...
Batman v Superman was actually really cool in the way they set up Lex and Bruce on similar paths, and they made it clear that, you know, childhood trauma, you know, abuse on one side, parents murdered on the other side, and stuff like that. Them trying to deal with that, them trying to find their own power, so to speak, which makes sense when you feel that out of control as a child about what happens to you and your family. Then you start to want more control, and the best way to get control is to get power. And so they both started down that road and been going on it most of their lives. And then something comes up that upsets the balance. And they both reacted, actually, very similar. And it was only one that was committed to pushing through, and the other one managed to wrench himself off that course before it was too late. You know, and so it's true. In a lot of ways, it seems like Lex has kind of gone ahead and sold himself to this route. And it would be interesting to watch him try to come back from that. But I don't know what... you know, I don't know what character or what kind of thing could happen that would shake him up badly enough to make him want to change. You know, typically when people are that traumatized in their youth, it becomes a part of their life, and it's harder for them to take themselves out of that and not want that power and control, because in the end, there's still that little kid inside that needs it, and it's part of their identity now. And so to abandon it would be to abandon their much of their sense of self. So it's actually really interesting. But I loved how they put both Bruce and Lex on similar paths. And even Lex is like, come on over and we should work together. My R&D department's up to no good. Like, if he could have got Batman just on board straight up, he'd have done it. But he knew he was just kind of borderline and not quite trustworthy enough. So it was like, that's fine. I'll just push him over the edge this way. I know what his buttons. I know what makes it work.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's just really cool. And in the end, of course, as we see, you know, Batman, Bruce finally managed to wrench himself off of that path and actually kind of open his eyes and see what's really going on here. And I don't know that Lex can do that. So the dude's got issues.
Yeah, to say the least. I am interested in seeing what they do with Lex's arc. I mean, obviously, we know he's going to have a small role in Justice League, but obviously because of what he did to Superman, I want to see the look on his face once he knows that Superman's back.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Wait. I just thought of something. Lex was studying this on Kryptonian chip, all this Kryptonian knowledge. What if he will be the one to come up with the idea how to bring Superman back in Justice League?
That would be very interesting.
Yes.
Of heroism.
Maybe, I'm not sure,
that
but
would be interesting.
But I think especially looking at Batman vs Superman, I think he kind of, at least what they established in the Ultimate Edition, I think he kind of sent out that message to bring Steppenwolf to Earth. So I don't necessarily think that, because I think Lex kind of wants them to be brought to Earth. So I think that's why he did that. So I don't think it's, I mean, again, they could, but at least the way that I saw that scene in that moment, I don't think he would be like, oh, I want God dead, and oh, now I want him alive. It would be hard, unless they come up with a really good story mechanism. I don't see why Lex would go from wanting to kill Superman in one movie to being like, oh, now I need to bring him back, and I know how to bring him back. You know, so for me, that'd be, again, unless they come up with a good story mechanism, I don't know if I would see that being plausible.
Yeah, they would have to really, really, really explain that well, and it would have to be believable. And unfortunately, they've dyed the wool so much in one direction that sometimes it's really hard, even when it's, quote, in the plot and it works, we still all look at it and go, yeah, but that's totally out of character. That's plot driven, and so I do admit that could be really interesting. I will say, I want to know your opinions here. It always just kind of, I don't know, it seemed to me, based on the dirt and this and that and the other, that I just kind of assumed that over time, Superman would regenerate and resurrect himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not him being aware he's doing it, but he would eventually just wake up and he'd be there. Like, and for some reason, my brain was just going on this plot. And then other people have brought up, no, they have to, others would have to realize that this is possible and put that into play and make that happen. And then somebody talked about how they didn't want him to just resurrect one day because it would make him too much on the Jesus parallel. What do you guys think? And what's your opinion on all these options?
Well, I think
in comic books, he was brought back to life thanks to Kryptonian Matrix. It was in his fortress of solitude. It was kind of this chamber where he was regenerated and brought back to life. And I hope a Kryptonian technology will also be involved in DCEU in order to bring Superman back, because I just want them to establish that Superman returning back from dead is like a one-time thing. It can't happen all the time, because otherwise it will erase the entire point of him being dead.
You are very right. That's an excellent point. Okay.
It's funny because the way I looked at it, I think obviously his body, I think, is slowly starting to heal. But I think just this is just me, like theorizing what could happen in Justice League, because we've seen in like the behind the scenes stuff and in little bits of trailers and stuff, some big plot points. Something's going on at Superman's memorial site, right?
Yes.
So
which has the scout ship right next door.
Yeah. So what I think they could be doing is that they realize they need Superman. Somehow they find out that Superman is regenerating, so they need to take him to the scout ship, and members of the League are protecting the area around the scout ship so they can revive Superman.
That would make the most sense, and I agree from the trailers. I thought that as well. Even if he starts the process somewhere along the way, they're going to have to finish it. And I agree, that Kryptonian technology is the most obvious and logical point for that to happen. And I do agree, they're probably going to have to destroy that afterward. Otherwise, it just makes it too easy. It doesn't matter if he dies. We'll just bring him back. Oh, how interesting.
If Superman will return all by himself, it will open up a question: why Zod didn't came back from the dead, because he's Kryptonian.
This is true. Okay.
Yeah.
All excellent thoughts. Yeah, sometimes my brain just decides on something, and later I'm like, why did I think that, So, yeah, you all have really good points. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so I'm going to divert us a little bit, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get an Aquaman teaser, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
I've
seen that too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think... Well, I mean, the timing of Comic-Con this year, it's very much so like last year, where, like, granted, Aquaman's coming out like a month later than Justice League would have in terms of timeline compared to this year and last year.
Yeah.
But I think they're gonna give us something, if not like maybe like a full look at like the cast or something. If there's no trailer out there, they have to give us some full look at, or like a behind the scenes kind of thing. Of Aquaman, but I do think we're going to be getting a little teaser trailer, because they've been filming for a little while now. I think there's enough there. You don't need a full trailer, but kind of like a little like sizzle of like what they've got so far. I think we're due for something like that, and especially because I think fans are excited about it, and especially there's like that behind the scenes thing on the other day I saw it on Tumblr of like Mira walking towards a bar, and it looked like a guy was hitting on her, and she like explodes his beer.
Yeah. I laughed at that. I did. I was like, I wish I had the power to do that.
And I think for me, also, I'm just really looking forward to seeing Amber Heard, because we got like that one shot of her in the Justice League trailer, but we haven't heard her speak yet. I mean, granted, Justice League is her movie, but I'm just really looking forward to see what Amber Heard can do as Mira, because I think Aquaman and Mira's relationship is one of the much like with Lois and Clark, I think one of the most important relationships within the DC universe as a whole, not even just the movies and the comics or whatever, but I think in general, So I think seeing their dynamic that's going to be set up in Justice League, I'm really looking forward to what they could do because I think Amber Heard, from what I've heard, she's a really good actress and she looks amazing in the role.
Yeah,
I just
I
think
I can't remember where. I think it was in Justice League film when they remarked on the kind of amazing chemistry that Jason and she had, you know, in terms of their roles together. And it was like, oh, good, you know, when you get two leads that are supposed to be romantic and they have really awesome chemistry, that's always a plus.
Yep.
So, you know, I know we probably won't get this much because it's a little bit too early in the process, and that's okay, but James Wan has talked so much about creating the underwater world and the kind of idea and how that works and this, that, and the other. And I am fascinated to see his take on it and to see kind of what his perspective is and what he creates in this film. I'm really, really interested just because that, to me, seems like a very Herculean, you know, gigantic kind of endeavor, you know, they're under freaking water and we're trying to make it look realistic, and I mean, how exactly do you do this? So I am really, really fascinated to see even just the Justice League bit of it, and to see James's take on how to do this. And I'm totally here for it. I never thought I would say that. I mean, it's Aquaman, and in my day, I admit it. You know, he was a made fun of person, and that's not a thing of much farther in the past. You know, but once Batman v Superman came out, and I even got a glimpse, it was like, okay, that dude's interesting, you know, and then all the Justice League just made it worse, and I'm like, well, I am totally here for this, so yeah, bring it, and I want to see this movie.
I mean, and that's the awesome thing, too, because James Wan, I've seen his first two Insidious movies and both Conjuring movies, and obviously those are horror movies, but especially with the way they've kind of revamped Aquaman since the New 52, like, if you think about it, so, like, most of the Earth is covered in water. And that's all of Aquaman's domain. And there's so much of the ocean that even us as human beings, there's so much we still don't know. And that's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it is kind
of scary. And to get a guy who's directed horror, and he also directed, you know, Furious 7, that was a big action movie. But I think he has the right sensibilities to bring us, like, a truly, like, a visually awesome look at the underwater world, as well as some pretty horrifying aspects of what we can expect to see in, you know, Aquaman's world and Atlantis and all these things. That I'm so excited for it. Like, and again, James Wan isn't like for big action movies. He wouldn't be like my go-to choice, but because I've loved his work so far, like I think he can give us something really brilliant in Aquaman. He'll give us something new and his own take on this world. I'm so looking forward to it. So I think we are going to get some sort of little teaser again, and if not, we're going to get like maybe like a behind the scenes kind of thing, like we got with Justice League last year. Yeah, maybe something along those lines. But I think we're going to get a little something especially because, I mean, granted, there's still Comic-Con next year before that movie, but this is going to be because next year there's not going to be any other big DC films releasing that year other than Aquaman. So I think it's time to get people excited for it. It's
this only DC comic movie. Drop a small little teaser, you know, to get people sitting up and going, ooh, what's that? You know, and so I agree. If they miss this opportunity, I'd be kind of surprised, because that would be, you know, a silly move. Honestly, you know, it doesn't take much to put together a teaser when you have preliminary footage. I mean, you're right. And, you know, I've seen it done time and again, so I'm sure they could manage that, and I really hope they give us just even a little bit of something, because I'm really interested.
Me too. And especially because
I just hope that Aquaman teaser will at least showcase the rest of the cast in the roles that they're performing.
Ooh, yeah. That could be cool.
You know, and one thing,
so far we have seen only Jason Momoa and
that's her.
Amber. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Got a good cast.
And one aspect of the film, I don't know if they're actually going to touch on this, but if you notice, a lot of the Atlantean cast that we've seen, they're all, you know, like white actors. And obviously Jason Momoa is not white. And I think one of the aspects of the character that they might be playing on is, I think Atlantis is going to be mostly a Caucasian, you know, type of people. So I think they might even play a bit of the racial issues within that, because obviously Thomas Curry, at least in this interpretation, is going to be, you know, someone who's like a Pacific Islander descent. So obviously I think that there'd be that aspect too, because obviously if you look at Jason Momoa, he is a mixed, you know, racial heritage. So he's a mixture of white and Hawaiian and all these different things. So I think that aspect of the character is also going to be important because you're like obviously if you look at like in general in the comics, like when Aquaman first came about, like Atlantis wanted nothing to do with him because they saw him as like almost like the bastard son of the queen.
Yes,
and then he's like because he's the son of.
He stood out because of his blonde hair and his blue eyes, right? Like he didn't fit with them, right?
Yeah,
that's what I remember hearing. See, I kind of love the idea that if they took that and flipped it on its head and reversed it, that would be really cool.
Yeah, and especially, and I think. And Jason's very much so talked about this, like being an outsider and like being of two worlds. I think by establishing that, and maybe not making it fully about race, but introducing that little aspect to it, I think will make the story even that much more interesting. And I think relatable to some people that you have this culture that can be somewhat racist towards not only just the fact that he's also like a land dweller or whatever they want to call him, but also like a person of a different color. I think that might play into the fact that he hasn't necessarily maybe he does know his heritage and doesn't want to go to Atlantis because of the way they've treated him for being so different on those different levels.
Yes. I would be really interested to see that, and I kind of hope they do it, and it would be really, really awesome. So, yeah, I'm there for that.
And another thing too. Go ahead.
I just like that Jason Momoa made pretty much a full circle. I don't know if you heard about this TV show, but he was one of the main characters in Stargate Atlantis TV show.
I think I remember hearing that.
Atlantis is a science fiction kind of thing. It was a city. It was a spaceship that was constructed as a city that left Earth to another galaxy, and in that galaxy, it was buried under the sea on the planet that was made up, that was covered in water entirely. And there, Jason Momoa played one of the main characters from that another galaxy, and now he became the king of Atlantis, and it's kind of funny.
That's interesting.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and it's funny that like especially. Like Jason, just even like looking at Jason Momoa, like you look at the guy and you're like, I don't want to make fun of Aquaman anymore.
Yeah. I remember the thing when they were making fun of Aquaman on the radio, I think, and then Zack Snyder like call in and defend him. And I'm pretty sure by then he already had this part cast, or at least had it pictured how he wanted it to be. And he's like, oh no, I could totally see this guy being a badass, you know? And yeah, I agree. It's like, yeah, I see no point in making fun of this one at all. Honestly, he's really cool. Jason is just, he's hilarious in real life anyway. But
he is. He's such a lovable guy too.
He doesn't have the kind of orange and green carrot thing going on anymore, you know, and he's definitely like powerful. Everything they've shown us of him, from just a tiny little clip of the footage in Batman v Superman to, you know, the stuff we're seeing in Justice League, it's like, yeah, this guy is not, he's not by any means a weenie. There's a lot of power in him, and I'm really fascinated to see how they use it. I can't wait.
God, me too. And that's why, like, I trust James Wan so much as a director, because I think he understands, like, what it'll mean to people to reinvent Aquaman to the general audience. Because I think a lot of people, even though I think a decent amount of people know that Jason Momoa is Aquaman, I think a lot of people still look at Aquaman as like the Super Friends guy who can talk to fish. Like,
yeah.
And they look the very like simplistic, cheesy version of the character. And I think they're gonna walk out of Justice League being like, oh wow, like that's not the Aquaman I remember. And I think they're gonna be excited for it because they're making him like a badass in that aspect. And that
and maybe they'll go back and read the Rebirth, because that's honestly really good right now.
And because like a lot of people, especially in the New 52, also like that, like Jeff Johns' run on Aquaman in the New 52 is kind of like also what reinvented Aquaman for the comics as well. And I think that it's funny because like a lot of people obviously like looking at like Game of Thrones, where like Jason Momoa played Khal Drogo, like. A lot of people who watch Game of Thrones, I think they're going to look at him and be like, oh, so this is kind of like a Khal Drogo kind of Aquaman. I think a lot of people are going to like that aspect of and make him more excited to see the character in his own film. So I think, like, there's nothing about Aquaman that I'm not excited for. Like, every aspect of the movie I think looks great. Just from, like, the behind-the-scenes stuff that's been leaking online of, like, Amber Heard and, like, everything going on. I can't wait to see it, and I do hope we do see something at Comic-Con, because I think it's time. Like Aquaman deserves his time to shine.
Yes, he really
totally
does.
Totally agree.
I just like how every DCEU solo movie is like introducing us to a whole part of DC universe world. Like in Man of Steel, you got science fiction, you got aliens and Krypton. Wonder Woman, you got Greek mythology and this Paradise Island, like another part of DC universe. And in Aquaman, we will get an Atlantis, another entire its own world on Earth. And in The Flash, we will get introduced to the Speed Wars, another cosmic part of DC universe. And I just like how these movies complete this whole cosmology of DC universe as a whole. Like all of that happens on one planet, Earth, but Earth consists of so many kind of like bubbles. Well, you get the idea. I just can express myself right now, but I hope you got the idea.
No, yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Totally.
And that's the awesome thing about the DCEU, or even like the DC universe in general, is that there's so many different characters with their own worlds, and sometimes like especially
cultures.
and like when you have
Yes.
Krypton and the Amazons and Atlantis and all these awesome like and cool interesting stories, it makes the world more interesting, and that's also one aspect of the comics that sometimes all these stories can get a little convoluted because you have the Greek gods, but you also have like you also have like Lucifer and God and all these different things. You have all these different like ideologies that are all like canon to the DC Comics universe. That like it expands and makes kind of like all like religions and all that kind of stuff validated. So, and I just think the DC universe is such a rich world in terms of what you can take from and include in the DCEU. That like, of course, I'm looking forward to Atlantis and seeing more of the Amazons and the Greek and more Greek mythology and seeing more of Krypton and the Krypton TV series. Like, there's so much to like just the DC universe as a whole that like I look forward to every movie like expanding on that. And I think like, each director they each have their own little style of what they want to add into the world. Like obviously with Man of Steel, again, we got more of like a first contact sci-fi kind of Superman story, and we got this awesome look at this different interpretation of Krypton that looks visually stunning. And then in Wonder Woman, like you said, we get this cool look at like the Greek mythology and how the Greek gods play into humanity, and in the Amazons and Paradise Island. And you also get like obviously in Justice League, we're gonna get more of a look at like Apocalypse and like the war between the humans and all of them. And even like if you look at some of the stuff in Justice League, if in that battle sequence, I do think you see some of the Thanagarians, which are like Hawkman and Hawkgirl's race. That's essentially where their powers come from. So they might even play a role in this, and they have a whole rich mythology to them as well. So I just can't wait to see what other kind of worlds we can see within the DCEU moving forward.
Yeah.
Also, Suicide Squad introduced magic into DCEU.
That did.
Yes, this is true. I love how the DCEU has been slowly expanding, and I mean it started with one character, Superman, and it just kind of unfolds a little bit. Every film gives us a glimpse of something more, and then they give us something more, and then they're constantly expanding. They're doing the same with their worlds, and it's such, I don't know, I like it. It's a really cool way to do it because it gives you a little taste in one film, and you're like, hey, that's interesting. I totally want to know more about that. I was like, Wonder Woman, she's cool. I want a whole movie about her. And they're like, here you go. Awesome, thanks. I'm already into Justice League. I want a whole movie about every one of them, and it just keeps branching out, giving us more and giving us more, but it gives us just a little taste at first to get you hooked. And boy, do they hook me, and then they unfold. And that's really cool because not every universe does it that way. And it's not bad to do it like the Marvel way where they just give you a movie for each character and then put them all together. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's a different way to do it. And I love different ways to do things because it's really fascinating to look and see, okay, so what happened if you did it this way, So that is really, really cool. I love how they do it.
So like one of my questions also, so if you could just like, if we're looking at Comic-Con next week, there's one thing you wanted to see or expecting to see, what would that be for you, all of you?
I would love to see a Flash director announced, and I would love to see them commit to a Cyborg movie. I'm probably too early for that, and that'll probably happen after Justice League, but I'm like, go ahead and give me that, please, because I would really love that.
Me too.
Yeah, or like a Green Lantern announcement for me. I'm kind of excited to see. I know it's far-fetched, but, you know, it'd be cool to hear something.
That would be cool.
I don't think it's that far-fetched.
Yeah,
It's not. There's been a lot of rumors building.
Yeah.
It's Green Lantern for me as well. I just hope they will finally reveal who is going to play Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, since the rumors were that Green Lantern's movie will star both of these characters.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think because Warner Brothers has been so like trigger shy when it comes to the Green Lantern the reboot or whatever, because of the failure critically and commercially of the Ryan Reynolds version, that they're like, we don't want to take any risks on the characters yet because we already kind of did and we ended up losing money on it. So I understand why, but at the same time, like, now that you've established this new universe, I think now is the time to show us who these new Green Lanterns are. And especially because, and just that's the one thing too, like, for a lot of people, like, who don't watch every single DCEU movie and they're watching the Justice League trailer, a lot of them are saying, where's Green Lantern? Isn't Green Lantern supposed to be in this? Like, like, for the people who just watched the cartoon and are looking forward to the movie, they're expecting Green Lantern. And I'm still not sure if we will get a cameo Green Lantern in the movie at all, or what that's going to end up being. But I think it is time to either reveal who's playing them, or to announce directors, or what we can expect from a Green Lantern Corps movie. Because we know it's on the books, we know they're working on it, but other than, like, David Goyer said he might be working on it, we don't know for sure what's going on with that movie, other than that, like, it might be like a buddy cop, like, Lethal Weapon kind of story. And that's pretty much all we know. And so for me, like, if there was, like, one thing I would want to walk out of Comic-Con with in terms of the DCEU, I would probably say at least, like, a slate of what they're doing. I mean, I understand, like, because, like, a little, like, about a month ago, I would say, they came out and said they're kind of waiting until Justice League comes out to kind of, like, see what they're going to do next. But I think, I understand that mentality, because, like, they don't want to keep, like, announcing dates and then moving around. But I think for certain, like, for, like, the Flash and, like, even, like you said, like, Cyborg and the Batman, I think it's good to get, like, at least dates for those to at least give us fans something, like, an idea of when to look forward to these movies and when we can see them. Because it's such, like, we know all these movies are coming, but, like, I'm dying for a Flash movie. But there's been so much drama between, like, the director of Dope leaving and the initial director leaving, that, like, and now we might get the directors of the Lego movie and Lord Miller, they might be doing it. But again, there's so much uncertainty with that movie, and then, like, the only certain movie other than Aquaman is the Batman, and that doesn't even have an official release date. And then, like, with Justice League 2, we still assume that Zack's going to be doing it, but of course, with him still dealing with the unfortunate death of Autumn, they're still working with, he's still dealing with that. So, and he can take all the time in the world with Justice League 2, but I think in terms of, like, some of the other characters, I just want some certainty into what we can expect and when we can expect it.
I agree. I would really like some dates to put in my calendar, you know, because it's harder to get excited when you don't know exactly when it's going to come to you, you know. Yeah,
and that's why, like, I'm really looking forward to Comic-Con, and I'm looking forward to actually, like, being there on the floor. So of course, if there's anything there that happens, I'll definitely let you guys know when I first find out.
Please.
I mean, I'm probably not going to be able to get into Hall H itself, but I'll do my best to kind of keep you guys updated with what's going on.
Awesome. I'll be there vicariously.
It will be interesting to hear something about Shazam movie, because we pretty much know that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is going to play Black Adam.
Yeah.
But what about Shazam himself?
Yeah, and they've also talked about, like, a Black Adam standalone movie. Like, I think that's why I think, like, with certain characters, like, I don't think we necessarily need a Nightwing movie. I don't think we need a Batgirl movie. I don't think we need a Black Adam movie. Just give us, like, I'm looking forward to a Shazam movie, but, like, again, give us an official date. Give us the star of the movie. Give us, like a director or something, like, tangible, so we can give us something to, like, latch onto and be like, okay, now we're looking forward to it. Not that we aren't, but it's hard to look forward to something that it's still kind of like up in the air as to whether or not it will still officially happen or when it'll come out. Because there's so much uncertainty with some of these movies because they're so far out, and there's been very little word on what's going on with those movies.
It's true. Yeah, I'm assuming that they're gonna start committing to some things, and actually putting announcements out there. And hopefully Comic-Con is the time to do it. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You gotta know. Especially because you're building on the success of Wonder Woman. I think for the people who maybe didn't watch the other DCEU movies, maybe didn't like them, if you're giving us more, you're like, if you liked Wonder Woman, here are all these other characters' movies that you can look forward to. I think if you're that's also building off the success of Wonder Woman, so I think you could take the opportunity to do that, because then you'll get more people excited about the universe as a whole, as well as getting them excited for Justice League.
You're right. This is an excellent time for it, so I really hope they take advantage. That would be really awesome. Did we, I think I heard somewhere through the grapevine that most of the Justice League cast would be there? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, so the only one that we haven't officially said is Henry. Is Henry. We don't know for sure if he's going to be there or not, but at the same time, I think it was the same thing last year where, he wasn't officially going to be there, but then he ended up coming in anyway.
This is true. And honestly, that was one of the best things ever. I mean, he's just such a sweetie in real life. He kills me, and he's like, I'm gonna wear a Suicide Squad shirt and wander into the.
God, I still wish I was there for that.
All their things, but after he takes the mask off, and they're all like, "What?" And he's just cute, and it's really cool. Even just when they announced Justice League and had them all standing there, and oh my gosh, Ezra was dressed up as Gandalf, wasn't he? And it was so cute.
I love him.
But they were all standing there, and it was just so cool to watch. Even as they leave, Henry's, he gives a hug to Jason, and he talks to all of them as they go, and you can tell they all get along really well, and then Ben comes over, and and he's got to wait for Ben before they go, and I don't know.
He's such a nice guy.
Get along
yeah, he couldn't have gotten a better guy to play Superman.
Oh gosh,
I love him so much, and that's what that's why I'm hoping they do something like they did with Batman vs Superman, and kind of have them there at the DC booth this year, so that way I can at least try to see them in person. At least be
awesome.
at least be I don't even necessarily be right in front of them, but see them from from the other side of the booth, so they could be I saw them.
Yeah.
I'm just I just can't wait for Comic-Con. And it's for me, and because I haven't gone in a couple years too, so for me it's kind of like last year, of course, I wasn't able to go, so there's I missed the Suicide Squad stuff, I missed some of the cast of Justice League stuff, so there's a lot of stuff that it sucks I couldn't see, but now I'm going this year and getting them for free, so I don't even have to pay for it. I cannot wait for Comic-Con. It's next week, so that's the awesome thing too, is that it's so close.
Oh man, it's next week. I'm soon gonna have trailers to watch over and over and over again and over again. Yay!
I know. And I'm debating whether or not to even bring my laptop there, just that way I can at least talk about it with everyone, because I can't just do it on my phone. Otherwise I'm gonna be on my phone the entire time, and be going crazy talking about everything. It's just I can't. It's the hype is real. The hype is real.
Yes, it is. We are here for it.
Yeah. So for me, other than what I said, I think I've said all I need to say in terms of what I'm looking for. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up?
No, I think I've said everything.
I'm good. I think.
I've ranted long enough. I'm good.
I think we all have.
I just hope after all, we will get a tease of Superman and Justice League. Even 2 seconds will make the day for me, honestly.
Yeah, even if they're showing the cape or something. Yeah.
Agreed.
Anything.
Yeah, we're just trying to read just even look for scraps of anything, just know that our boy's alive.
It's so true. Please. Just show me the shield, I'm good with that, you know. Just show me Lois's happy face, and I'm oh, she's looking at him, I don't care.
She knows.
Give me something,
Yep.
man.
Yeah, so I can't wait. I can't wait.
About Lois, I wanted to discuss something about with you. Batman v Superman pretty much made it clear that Lois Lane is key to Superman's return, and how do you expect this to play out in Justice League? I just hope they won't drop this plotline they started in Batman v Superman with Flash from the future establishing that Lois Lane is necessary for Superman to come back. But how it will be played out, because in Superman the Animated Series, 2 final episodes of the entire cartoon were about how Darkseid captured Superman and brainwashed him, believing that he was raised on Apokolips, and he was leading the army of Apokolips in order to conquer Earth. And Lois Lane was the one to snap him out of this brainwash thing.
Yep. Agreed. And I've been waiting for. I'm wondering how that's going to play out and how exactly they're going to do that.
Yeah, because the way I saw it as, because all he said was Lois Lane's the key. So, and that's very vague, so that doesn't help. But from what I was able to read, I think that's more along the lines of like making sure she stays alive. Because in that nightmare sequence, you see Clark go to Bruce, and he was like, "She was my world, and you took her from me." I think that just means them trying to keep Lois alive, because even looking at like the Injustice storyline, Lois's death was the catalyst for everything that happened in that universe. So I think that's very much so like what's gonna happen. So I think with that, I think they just mean like Lois needs to stay alive because she is kind of like Clark's what holds Clark to humanity. You know, so I think that's more or less what it meant. I don't think she necessarily is like the key to his return, because that's not what they explicitly said in the movie. But I mean, she could be. But from what I was able to read, I think that's more along the lines of like that's keeping Clark on the side of humanity. She is what keeps Clark grounded to human beings and humanity as a whole. So I think that's more or less what that means. So I mean, I'm curious as to what they bring on with that, but I don't know what they're going to do, because it's so hard to tell, because it was just a vague statement, and we don't know if they're going to ever build on the nightmare sequence, or if we're going to ever see more of that.
It could be taken either way, and so I admit, I am partial to the idea that Lois is going to, again, be important in him coming back, and that it's not just a matter of don't let her die, because then, it all goes to crap. But at the same time, I agree, it's vague enough, it could be taken either way, and it would make sense.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious to see how they unfold it. They've never made a secret out of the fact that she is really necessary for centering him, and is part of why he connects to humanity as much as he does. And so that and his mother, and so they've never made a secret of that in either of his first 2 movies. So I don't expect them to suddenly drop that, but I am curious to see how everything comes into play. Maybe he'll just be Sleeping Beauty, and she's required to kiss him and wake him up. Who knows?
Maybe.
So they're all like battling off like tons of aliens and all sorts of things outside on the outside, and there's this big battle scene. But inside, all we get is this really sweet him laying on a slab, and she just gives him a kiss. Right? I'm down with it. So no, I'm totally lying. I'm not down with it, but it could be that simple. I don't know. So we'll just have to wait. I hate waiting.
I know, God, me too. Yeah.
How would you feel if Superman wouldn't be teased in Justice League new trailer, but they would release a promo of Henry Cavill in black suit? Would it be much of a spoil for you, personally?
I mean, we've kind of talked about it. I don't think it will necessarily be a spoiler, because obviously we all know he's coming, but seeing the black suit, for me as a comic fan, that would be awesome, because he has already teased it in the past, and that's why I still don't think that, because people keep saying, it was just a black and white filter. I don't think it would look that good if it was a black and white filter, I don't think the colors would, because in that picture that Henry posted last year, that's very, I think the colors are defined in that, so I don't think that was just a black and white image. But in terms of your question, if they were to just save his reveal for, his own promo or something along those lines, I think it's a little late in the game for his own promo, but if they did do it, for at least for myself, I don't think it'd be that much of a spoiler. I would have rather have seen it in his own trailer, though, or in a trailer with the league themselves, not just a Superman standalone promo, because they had all those months ago. So I feel like it was kind of I don't know. I would have rather seen that with the entire league and not just Superman on his own. That's me personally.
Yeah, I see that.
Alright, so unless you guys had anything else to bring, I think that's pretty much it as far as what I had to say anyway.
Agreed.
I think we got it covered pretty much.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, so I think with that being said, that's pretty much it. So if you guys, again, like we do every week, go around and kind of reintroduce you guys and where you guys can find you online.
So I'm Lily from Lily Loves Comics on Tumblr.
I'm Katie. I'm Story Advocate on Tumblr.
I'm Artyom, Great Kongwa on Tumblr.
All right, and then of course you guys can find me here at Nerdy Nick or True Man of Steel on Tumblr and Nerdy Nick on Twitter. You guys definitely want to follow my social media during Comic-Con because I'll be posting the entire weekend while I'm there, and I'll be talking to these great people while I'm there and letting them know the tidbits before they go online. So, all right, so thank you guys for joining me as always. It's always a lot of fun talking with DCEU with you guys, and I can't wait to talk about all the stuff coming out of Comic-Con.
There will be screaming involved. I apologize.
Yeah, there will.
No, a lot.
All right, and then thank you everyone for listening, and again, thank you guys for joining me, and until next time, have a good one, everyone.